Let me reel off some names for you. Jamar Chase, Josh Jacobs, and CD Lamb. All of these dudes are potential league winners in fantasy football, but they're obvious. Anybody could have told you that. However, I'm here to uncover 6 league winners that you need to draft who are not obvious. And let's begin with Elijah Mitchell, who is currently the best handcuff, best backup running back in fantasy football. Now, despite this, he goes in round 11 around guys who are in 3-headed backfields like Khalil Herbert and Jamal Williams. But if anything happens to Christian McCaffrey, Mitchell is a league winner, and here's why. This is the 49ers draft. They actually had 9 total picks if you were to scroll here, and they spent none, surprisingly so, for the first time in a while on the running back position. And these are their most recent free agent running back signings. As you can see, June 2nd, 2022 was their last signing, so they signed nobody in 2023, which means Mitchell's competition is going to be the same as last year, and he already beat out these following guys. We can start with Jordan Mason, who had a couple of nice games last year when Mitchell and McCaffrey were banged up, but only one career game of over 10 touches. And then there's Terrion Davis-Price, who was drafted last year. There was rumors that he could be the RB1. Obviously, they didn't have McCaffrey at the start of last season. What did he do? Only 34 touches as a rookie. Mitchell was still ahead of him. And it's pretty clear why he was ahead of these guys, because he's just better. See for yourself. In his first 2 seasons, he ranks 14th in yards per touch, 9th in fantasy points per touch, and 8th in RB efficiency. That's all impressive. And remember what he did as a rookie. He earned an 81% opportunity share in 2021, the 3rd highest that season, but more importantly, it was the most out of any running back under Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, ever. So if McCaffrey misses any time, Mitchell is automatically a top 10 running back. This is the injury predictor tool from Draft Sharks. McCaffrey, given his age and his whole track history, his amount of touches, has an 84% chance to miss time this year, and they're projecting him to miss 2.2 games. So Mitchell is going to have some starts. Now let's go from the running back position to a league winner, the only league winner in this video at the quarterback position. And that would be the Seattle Seahawks quarterback, Mr. Geno Smith, the West Virginia product, quietly won the offseason. And here's why. The Seahawks got the best wide receiver in the draft in the first round, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then got a very good top 3 running back in the class, Zach Charbonnet, in round 2. And a reminder, this is what Jackson Smith-Njigba did in his college career. In this year right here, 1,600 yards while playing next to Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. And then there's the mega producer, Zach Charbonnet, who in his final year had over 1,300 rushing yards, 37 receptions, one of the best in the entire class, and 14 touchdowns. And oh yeah, not to mention, Geno Smith deservingly got paid this offseason. He signed a 3-year deal worth $75 million, so easy $25 million per year on average, but that's not all. Because with incentives, this deal comes out to being worth upwards of $105 million. The obvious thing here is that he is the clear quarterback 1 for this team with upgraded weapons. But despite everything I just said, Geno Smith is being disrespected in fantasy drafts because he currently goes as the quarterback 16, and in a lot of drafts I've done, he's going as like the quarterback 20 after guys like Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers, and here's why this is a mistake. Geno was 5th in QB efficiency last year. He quietly added a career-high 366 rush yards, and he finished 8th in points per game. And in 2023, the offense is set up to pass even more because they have these 3 legit receivers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. And if you want to get all 3 of them on the field at the same time, you need to run more 3 wide receiver formations, also known as 11 personnel, which leads to more passing. So go get Geno Smith right now in round 10. He goes around guys like Tyler Boyd, a wide receiver 3 on his team, and guys who share backfields like Rashad Penny and Antonio Gibson. I'll take the league-winning quarterback instead. Now, up next is a running back. By the time you're watching this, might actually be the running back 1 on his own team. And that would be Alexander Mattison, who is still somehow, as of this recording, sneaky. Mattison is the running back 2 for the Vikings, and he currently goes in round 8 of fantasy drafts around guys like Rashad White and Cam Akers. This is a fair spot for him to be in, except one major thing. There have been a lot of rumors that Dalvin Cook will not be a Viking this year. You could see here, Nick Ercolano, a friend of mine, says that he has sources that it's going to be the Bills or the Jets that get Dalvin Cook. Either way, reports everywhere have seemed like he is not taking a pay cut, which means he's probably going to be cut or traded. And if this happens, Mattison will be the clear running back 1 in Minnesota. Now here's what you need to know. Dalvin Cook's contract is worth almost $15 million per year, and the Vikings don't want to pay this. They want to cut him, and he has a potential out this year, which means they could save some money. So it's itching towards likely he's not going to be a Viking this year. And this helps Alexander Mattison, who has started 6 games in his career that Dalvin Cook has missed, and he's averaged 20.4 points, and when you combine his rush attempts and receptions, over 23 touches per game. Both of these metrics would have ranked top 5 amongst running backs in 2022, but there's more. The Vikings signed Alexander Mattison this offseason. They re-signed him, a 2-year deal worth $7 million, well above average for a backup running back. Now, this implies he'll be used more. Go draft him before before he becomes a 4th-round pick. The next man up is Jaylen Warren, an AFC running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was an undrafted free agent just a year ago. In my opinion, he's a potential league winner that goes in round 14 around guys like Raheem Mostert and Tyler Algier. I'd rather have Warren, who's a better handcuff right now. And the reasoning is simple. He is the clear running back 2 on the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are their draft picks from this year, and they did not draft any running backs. And when you go and look at what they did in free agency, they did not sign a single guy this year. Their most recent signing, August 18th of 2022. And what this means is that Warren's just going to compete with guys that he already beat out last year. And as of right now, it would be these 2 players, Anthony McFarland and Master T. McFarland's an undersized running back who only has played in 3 games the last 2 years of his career, so he's no threat. And Master Teague has never seen a single snap in an NFL regular season game. Now, Warren was very quietly great in his rookie year. See for yourself. He ranked 11th in yards per touch. 5.6 yards per touch was 40% better than his teammate Najee Harris. And 2 more things you need to see. Warren was 5th in yards created per touch, which shows his playmaking ability, and he led all running backs in rushing efficiency, ahead of guys like Nick Chubb and Miles Sanders. Now, of course, this was on a limited sample throughout his 16 games of just 77 rush attempts, but it hints at his upside should anything happen to Najee Harris. Now, let's stick in the AFC here with who I believe is the best 5th-round pick in fantasy football right now, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk. He currently goes in round 5, around guys like TJ Hawkinson, Justin Herbert, and Kenneth Walker. He's the best guy in this range, and he reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs from 2020. Diggs was coming off a wide receiver 24 finish in 2019, and entering 2020 switched to a new team, the Bills, with Josh Allen, and finished as the wide receiver 3, but he fell in drafts because of this. Now, it's not the exact same. Christian Kirk will stay on the new team after going there last year, but last year he was right around the wide receiver 20, and now for some reason he's going as the wide receiver 27. And this man right here is the reason why. Calvin Ridley is now a Jaguar, but he's 28 and a half years old. He's past his prime, and he hasn't played football in 20 months. By the time the season starts, it'll be about 2 years. But despite everything I just said, Ridley goes as the wide receiver 16. Like I said, Kirk's going as the wide receiver 27, so based on where they're going in drafts, Ridley is going 35% sooner, which in my opinion is crazy, because Kirk is coming off of a career year. He saw 133 targets a year ago, 30% more than his previous career high. And this led to 1,108 yards and 8 touchdowns. And if the production doesn't convince you, well, maybe the money will talk, because Christian Kirk is currently the highest paid player on the Jaguars. His 4-year deal is worth $72 million, which the simple math there is that he's getting paid $18 million per year, which means there's 18 million reasons why the Jaguars are going to feature Kirk this year. Expect Kirk to continue to operate as the Jaguars wide receiver 1. Now let's talk about a receiver that your friends have forgot about, and that would be Rondale Moore, who was well on his way to breaking out in 2022 before a season-ending injury. Here's what I mean. In his rookie season of 2021, Rondale only played 47% of the snaps and only topped 60% of the snaps in 1 game. He basically wasn't a starter or every down player. But then things changed last year in 2022. He missed the first month of the season, but when he returned, look at his snap shares here. 90%, 91, 97, 88, 94. We can keep going down. He played 94% of the snaps on average across 7 games. And when you see more snaps, it's going to lead to more opportunities. And that's what happened. He didn't just see more snaps, he started to produce. From week 5 to week 12, the 6 games that he was fully out there and healthy, not dealing with injury, Rondale averaged 14.1 points, 6.3 receptions, and 8.5 targets per game. Now check this out. Over that time, right before his injury, he was the wide receiver 12 in fantasy, next to guys like Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, A.J. Brown, players who were having great seasons. Now, I know his quarterback situation this year is rough, and let's look at it. One of these guys will be his quarterback. If you're not familiar, Kyler Murray tore his ACL towards the end of last year, probably going to miss 8 to 12 weeks if we're being optimistic, which means Jeff Driscoll, David Blau, Clayton Tune, or Colt McCoy if he comes back from injury, one of these guys will be the starter out there. And if you don't believe me on the Kyler analysis, well, why not consult a doctor right here, Sports MD Analysis on Twitter. He says it is a hard pass, Kyler, in his 2023 season for him, and he's estimating in week 8 to 12 for his return, but there is a lot of large variability in that. It means that if everything was to go right, it would be week 8 to 12. So all of this to say that Rondale Moore, who currently goes in round 14, there's no more DeAndre Hopkins on this team. His only competition really is Hollywood Brown for the most part. He's currently being taken next to Marvin Mims, a wide receiver 4 on his team, Rashid Shaheed, a wide receiver 3 on his team. Take the wide receiver 2 in Rondale Moore. Now there's one more key player at his position who is the ultimate league winner. But before we get there, I have a simple question for you. Do you want to win your league? Well, if you're here right now and you want to beat your friends, the answer is probably yes. Well, if that's the case, then the fantasy blueprint is for you. It has all the tools and analysis you need to win your league. And this is a completely risk-free offer. If you don't make your fantasy playoffs, I will refund your payment, your minimum deposit, to get the blueprint. It is really simple to get. You just click the link in the description below and follow the 2 quick steps, and you'll have your fantasy blueprint to schmack around your friends with. So check out that fantasy blueprint down below. And now let's talk about the ultimate league-winning tight end based on where he goes right now, Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth. And this dude had a great second season. He ranks 7th amongst all tight ends in yards per route run, aka his tight end efficiency. And to get an idea of where that was, it finished ahead of George Kittle and Darren Waller, guys who went in the top 5 at the position last year. But that's not all, because Freiermuth finished 5th in tight end targets and was 12th in points per game last year. Now let's discuss what he did specifically with his new quarterback Kenny Pickett last year. Freiermuth played in 12 of his 16 games with Kenny Pickett, and as you can see right here, he averaged about 10 points with Pickett compared to just 7.5 without him, so a 27% increase in points. And he also saw 28% more targets, despite leaving 2 games early and missing some drives with an injury. So these numbers are probably going to be even greater. And believe it or not, this is what Kenny Pickett did last year. He was ranked number 1 in catchable passes under pressure, catchable deep targets as well, and number 2 in overall catchable passes, meaning that his targets that players were receiving from him were accurate. And this very much so helps Pat Freiermuth, who already ranked 3rd in tight end deep targets last year. And the only real move this offseason was the Steelers added Allen Robinson, who's nothing really, pretty poor efficiency to this point in his career. So they're basically swapping out Chase Claypool for Allen Robinson this full season. And now one more thing. Last year, Pat Freiermuth only had 2 touchdowns because the Steelers ranked last in passing touchdowns. He was expected to score 5 touchdowns though. And that expectation is based off of his usage. If he would have scored those extra 3 touchdowns, he would have finished as the tight end 7. But despite everything I just said, he currently goes as the tight end 10. I often see him going as like the tight end 12s in drafts after David Njoku, after a rookie who's never played in the NFL, and Dalton Kincaid. Take Pat Freiermuth here. He is the league winner at the position. So based on where these players go in drafts, their value, they are the current league winners that you need to target. Now, if you want to see a handful of running backs who are set up to break out this year, well, check out this lovely video right here before your buddies do. And if you're not already, take 2 seconds of your time for the fella right here and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on everything you need to know to win your league.